All right, so you want to know about the executive branch. The office of the president is actually described in Article 2 of the Constitution, and while it may not seem like a big deal today, it was actually very radical for the time because almost all the world had ever known were kings, queens, and in a few cases, oligarchs. Part of what was so radical was the fact that no person was or is guaranteed to be president, as the spot has to be earned. It's what we call a meritocracy. Okay, so time for some quick fun. I know you're smart, so tell me, how many years max can a president serve? Go ahead, pause the video, think about it. You got a guess? Good. Say it with me on 3. 1, 2, 3, 10. What? You said 8, didn't you? Well, that's a great try. I imagine you were told once that a president can serve only 2 terms and that each term is 4 years max, so you thought 8. While it isn't wrong, the truth is that presidents can actually serve 10 years if things line up just right. You probably know that if you were VP and the president is unable to serve, you get to become president. What you may not know is that if you are forced into presidency and it's less than 2 years long, you can actually qualify to serve 2 more full terms after that time, which means in theory, you could serve 10 years total. Pretty cool, huh? I guess that means you should probably watch the rest of this video because it turns out you don't know everything. Yeah. Okay, so back to the president. Have you ever wondered what it takes to be the big dude or dudette? Well, actually, you only have to fulfill 3 requirements. 3. The first is that you have to be at least 35 years old. You probably think that's because, they want the person to be wise and have a lot of life experience, but many sources actually indicate that it was actually to battle tyranny. Since the average lifespan at the time was only 41 years old, being elected president at 35 meant that you would be almost guaranteed not to serve for very long. That way, if you were a bad leader, that people wouldn't have to suffer for very long. The second thing that you need is that you have to be a natural-born citizen of the United States, and the last thing is that you have to be a resident of the US for at least 14 years. Wait, what? How does that even make sense? Remember, people can actually move. It's not crazy to think that you might move away during college and become a resident abroad. This rule was really meant to make sure that you were not only loyal to the US, but that you knew about current issues that are important to the United States people. And that's it. No, really, that's all you need. However, based on our past presidents, there are some other suggested traits for becoming president. The first is that some sort of political background, naturally, can help, and loads of money, because running a campaign is very, very expensive. Now, in addition to that, you want to try to be rather moderate with your political beliefs, and if you want to follow historical statistics, you probably want to be white, married, male, Protestant, and independently wealthy. So, not me. But last but not least, you kind of need to have thick skin. At the end of the day, you are responsible for the well-being of every American man, woman, and child, and that's a lot of stress. When you look at our presidents from the beginning of when they start in office to when they end, they get gray pretty fast. So what does the president do? Well, they do a ton of things, but 4 of the biggest responsibilities they have are as follows. First, they are Commander-in-Chief of the United States Army, but don't worry, they have to get approval from Dad, i.e. Congress. They can also create treaties with other countries. They can issue executive orders, and they have the important power of appointment. It's pretty cool stuff. Okay, so what about number 2, the vice president? Well, the good news is that because they might need to fill in for the president, they actually have to have the same qualifications. And as for their duties, they really only have 2 big ones. First, they have to be the president's backup in case they can't fulfill their duties. And after that, they really are the president of the Senate, meaning they kind of run the Senate. Now, if you're like 98% of our students, the next question you're going to ask is, what happens if the president and the vice president die or can't fulfill their position? Well, there's something called the presidential line of succession that has been determined, and in this case, if they both weren't able to do it, it's the Speaker of the House that gets to be president. After that, there's a list of 16 more people to fill the position. Most of them are cabinet members, okay? And you're probably going to ask now, well, what if they all die? Well, negative Nancy, that has never happened. In fact, we've never even gotten to the speaker level of this succession, but there is still an answer to your question. This answer is that whenever 19 of these people, meaning all of them, are supposed to be together, like for a ceremony or for Congress or something, one of them is actually designated as the survivor, and they're actually moved to an undisclosed location. So if, Superman's arch nemesis Lex Luthor was going to come and destroy Congress, one of them would still be left alive to be our president. So you want to know more about the president's cabinet. The truth is that they weren't actually provided for directly in the second article, but in section 2 of that article, there's a line that allows for the creation of a cabinet to aid the president in his or her duties. These people meet weekly with the president to provide advice, and they are generally handpicked or appointed. The last time I checked, their salary was almost $200,000 a year. So study up, children. That could be you, a cabinet member one day. So being president seems a little more complicated and stressful than you once thought, huh? Well, the good news is there are some perks for being top dog too. First off, you are paid about $400,000 each year you serve, but you also get paid a salary of $161,000 every year after that until you die, like when you're not working. Talk about a good pension plan. In addition, you also have free residences, the White House and Camp David, which is in Maryland. You also have access to Air Force One, the plane, Marine One, the helicopter, and now Cadillac One. It's a real thing. You should look it up. You have a legion of dedicated staff. You have your own chefs, and of course, you get top-of-the-line tech, and you never have to wait in line at Chipotle. That's my favorite perk, and that's what I've heard, at least in Washington, D.C. So that's about it for this video, but hopefully you've learned something new. Until next time, guys.